This week we're really going to be focusing on the pre-spawn situation here on the California Delta. With that, we're going to take a look at a few of the pictures that came in from some of the reports I got from last week. Then we're going to get right into the fishing report. So let's take a look at these pictures. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the fishing report for March 27th. And as I said, we're going to really focus in on the pre-spawn situation here, the whole skinny on what's going on here on the California Delta. Couple tournaments I want to talk about before we get into the report. The Bass Hole 2025 Team Circuit is coming out to Russo's this next Sunday, March 30th. If you're interested in that, make sure you give Rob a call at 925-813-9485. I'll be out there talking to you folks this Sunday. And for those of you who are looking for the video recap of last week's high-low roller circuit, that is up on In Deep on the Delta. So if you want to see how those guys did, check that out. Also, we have another tournament that's coming up that we all need to get out and support. It's the Bass Badges and Vets tournament, and that not only includes vets but military people that are active military, firefighters, correctional officers, anyone that's carrying a badge and helping to keep our community safe. You guys are welcome to fish this tournament. That's going to be April 3rd and 4th out at B&W Marina. That is a Thursday-Friday tournament, April 3rd and 4th. If you have any questions, call Dave King, Tournament Director, 415-341-3775. Dave will get you filled in on that. I plan on being out there both days, and I'm going to get some interviews with some of these guys and give them a chance to let us know what they're doing out there. So make sure you support the Bass, Badges, and Vets tournament coming up. With that, let's get right into the Delta report, and I'll start off very briefly with stripers, and then we'll get into the largemouth bass. And the one thing that I have seen this week, not as many reports coming from the Sacramento, San Joaquin side, out farther west where the stripers have been doing pretty well. I had a friend that was out Tuesday, Brandon Island. Him and his partner got blanked trolling that area. Talked to 15 or 20 boats out there at the ramp, and it was Tuesday. It just happened to be a bad day or whatever it was. The fish just weren't cooperating Tuesday. Now, I know they have been doing pretty well out there, and I don't know if those fish moved into the Central Delta or what happened, but if you guys are out there, give me some reports, and I'll cover the stripers in a little more detail, especially out there on the Sacramento side. I can say that there are a ton of fish in the Central Delta. We're going to talk about, I'll say, from Ladd's Marina out to Frank's Track and everywhere in between. They seem to be spread out all over. Last week I talked with Joe from Core Fishing. He's been concentrating on the main channel and the sloughs running into the main channel where he's getting that moving water, throwing glide baits, jerk baits, kind of bass baits to catch stripers. A lot of the reports of the largemouth bass guys that are out there, they all seem to be catching stripers. A lot of the guys that were fishing the tournaments last week for largemouth all seem to catch a striper or two. I know I have been staying in the sloughs, and I'm finding the smaller stripers from most of these fish are keeper size to a lot of shorts. You're going to probably go 50-50. Every keeper you catch, you're going to catch a short. But they're out there, they're spread out. I'm picking them up in the morning on top waters, fishing on flats for largemouth bass, and there seems to be quite a few stripers in that system or in those shallow flats. Also made a run up north, up the McCollum. I saw a lot of activity. There's a lot of sea lions up there, a lot of bait up there, and the sea lions seem to be pretty darn active, so we know there's a lot of fish up there. Not many people fishing up that way around Terminus, but it looks like there's probably a lot of fish up there. With that being said, if I get more reports next week, I'll tune you in on what the stripers are doing. Let's get right into the largemouth bass, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown on 4 tournaments that I was either at or I got some pretty current information with. And what I want to do when I talk about these tournaments is not just tell you the winning weights, but I try to get information on what the average guys are doing, what the field's doing. So whether you're a tournament angler just checking in to see how other tournament anglers are doing, or whether you're a weekend guy that wants to come out and just see what the potential has been up there, what the winning weights are, and what you might be able to expect out of your week's fishing. So first of all, last Saturday, I think it was the Christian Bass Club had a tournament out at Lads. They had 40 boats, 16 and some change won. Local YouTube creator Bearded Bassin and his pops won the tournament. Congratulations to Bearded Bassin. Caleb, good job. 40 boats out there. Big fish of the tournament was 8.9 pounds. Beautiful fish in great shape. Pre-spawn fish, nice fat fish. 16, not a great weight. That's what it took for Saturday. Now, NorCal Bass had a tournament Sunday, different day, same location. They had 45 boats. It took 25.2 to win that tournament. Second place was 24.7. Third place was 23.4. They had a big fish of the tournament that was 8.4. They paid 10 places down, 13 cashed a check. But the deal is, out of those 45 boats, 15 of them did pretty well. The rest of the field had 0 or 1 or 2 fish. So it was kind of a zero or hero day for that NorCal Bass Club. And by the way, Lorenzo Rossetti and his son won the tournament. So you can almost cut that top guy out because Lorenzo's been catching fish like he's been on a tear. 25 pounds, don't expect to get 25 pounds unless your name is Lorenzo. So with that, keep that in mind. The Bass Hole tournament was the last Bass Hole tournament was out there, 45 boats on Sunday out of Russo's. They had the high and low roller side. 21 plus won the low roller side. 20 plus won the high roller side. They had 2 big fish, or their first and second big fish were both over 7 pounds. And again, half of the field, I'd say, had 0 to 2 fish. And by the way, I have a tournament recap that I put up at In Deep on the Delta, and I have several interviews from that tournament. And if you want to see what those guys were doing, they talk about, some of the tendencies that they were seeing. So check that out if you get a chance. With that, you have kind of an idea of what the tournament guys are doing. Now I'm going to give you the situation of what I've seen out there and what my subscribers have been telling me that have been going out on the Delta. The first thing that I want to say is, for all of you guys heading out this next week, it's pre-spawn. There are some big fish being caught. There's some big bags coming in on the tournaments. But this could be a very frustrating time of the year for bass anglers. It could be kind of like a hero, zero type thing. You can go out one day and you think you're just going to knock them. Everybody's catching fish and you have problems and you feel real bad about yourself. The next trip you can come out and you can put in a 20-pound bag. You can't get too low, you can't get too high. So with that, what we're looking at is water temperatures hovering around 65 degrees. Water temperature has risen. I've got some people that have said they've seen 68-degree water, but right around 64, 65, 66 is what you should probably see in this next week. 2 to 8 foot visibility. The water color in a lot of areas is kind of not a chocolate, but it's just a kind of a brownish color. We're getting a lot of this runoff come through. That's probably going to be cleared up if we don't get a bunch of rain in this next system, which is coming in a week or so. Lots of vegetation floating down the river. I'm not saying there's logs out there, but there's a lot of stuff you don't want to hit in your boat, so just be real careful, slow down. A lot of, I'll say, chunks of wood in that 4 or 5 foot, size that you just don't want to hit with the boat. Not seeing a lot of the big logs floating down, but be careful. So that's what you can expect. I have been fishing in the backs of sloughs, and water clarity back in the backs of sloughs is almost too good. It's maybe 6, 8, maybe even 10 feet, and the fish in the backs of sloughs that are starting to go pre-spawn have been very, very finicky, meaning that when you pull up and you see that fish, and the minute you seem to raise your arm or do this to make a cast, those fish are gone. So don't be don't rely on finding that super clean water and expect you're going to catch fish in that place, in those places. So let's talk about a couple of things. Coach Ted, he was out. Take a look at this picture. He's got a nice little crankbait that he picked up, a fish that he's saying was over double digits. Fought it for about 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes, however it was, had a heck of a battle. Finally got it to the net, and this is what happened to his crankbait. It broke in two. Now, if you know Ted, he is meticulous on every bait he gets out here on the Delta, changing out the split rings, changing out the hooks to either 2X or 3X heavy hooks. I've never seen a crankbait break like that. Ted is, I'm not going to call Ted the loser of the week. It's the hard luck story of the week. He's not a loser. He gets to fish every day of the week. He's got a wonderful life. But he's the hard luck story this week for breaking a crankbait and losing a double-digit fish. One thing that Ted did say on that same day, another angler that was fishing in his location picked up a double digit. Ted got to go over and take a look at that. So there are big fish being out there. We should think about this, and I'm definitely thinking about this. The stuff that I had on for winter that was lighter, some of my jerkbait gear, some of my lighter leaders, so on and so forth. I'm reevaluating all of my stuff as of this week to go with heavier leader, heavier line, making sure my hooks are in good shape, making sure my baits are in good shape, because this is the time where you can get some really big fish. So that was Ted's report. So I got a report from Joey Price, and kind of a feel-good report from Joey, because last week at the Bass Hole Swap Meet, I made a new friend. John was out there, and he was asking me if there's anybody that I would recommend for guiding out there. And one of the folks that was out there was Joey Price, and I introduced him to Joey. John hooked up with Joey last week. I think they got out on Tuesday, and they had a heck of a day. They got some really nice fish. I'm sure John was absolutely more than happy with their day of fishing. I think they caught big numbers of fish, and a lot of fish in that 4, 5, 6 pound range. They were able to see a lot of fish on beds, and they were able to catch a lot of fish. So congratulations to Joey and John on that day. I know he was fishing slow-moving worms. I know a lot of the folks that have caught some of the bigger fish, they're finding where these fish are, and they're not necessarily bed fishing, but they're fishing around the bigger fish, slowing down with worms. Some of them are getting them on big wake baits and things like that. You know, the bigger baits are attracting some of the bigger fish. So everyone that has been sending in reports, and I appreciate all your reports coming in. You've seen a lot of the pictures. They all seem to be maybe not putting a 25-pound bag in the boat, but they're all catching more and more fish, and there's at least one big fish, I'll say over 3 pounds, in that 3 to 5 or 6 pound category, that is, comes in their bag. So things are starting to pick up, but as I said before, it could be a very frustrating time of year. I'll let you know what I have been doing, and I went from basically zero to hero, and I'm going to say I definitely went from zero. I didn't go to hero, but I went from zero to at least being proud of what I caught on the next day. We won't call it hero. I was out Monday with my son Nathan. We fished for 4.5 hours. We got 2 bites, caught 0 fish. That was Monday, 4.5 hours. I got to go out Tuesday. I decided, obviously, I wasn't going to fish in that area that we blanked out in. I went up north, up off the McCollum, and I had about a 10-fish day. Also caught 3 stripers. Started out at Paradise Point, very foggy in the morning. couldn't go very far, couldn't run a whole lot, so I started fishing topwater with on some flats. That's where I caught my stripers. I did have, I think, 2 or 3 fish. I think I landed 2 largemouth bass and lost a nice bass on a topwater, and I want to just talk a little bit about that. I have been picking up occasional fish on topwater. I have, along with a lot of other folks that have been talking about being out there fishing for largemouth bass, we're all hooking fish and we're losing fish, and this happens every year. I talk about it every year. Expect to lose a few more fish early in the season than you will in a week or two, and that is because a lot of these fish, especially the ones that are coming up hitting topwaters, they're hitting them, they're smacking at them, but you know, they're just getting in the swing of feeding and coming up and hitting things, and maybe they're not real good at it. So a lot of them are getting hooked on the outside of the jaw, or you know, just having one hook in the lip, and they get up and start rolling around, and you lose that fish. In a couple weeks, when these fish are really slamming these baits and really getting active, everyone that's saying, geez, man, I lost a couple fish here, I lost a couple fish there, you're going to be catching those fish. So I've been losing fish, caught those fish, or had some fish come up on topwaters, and also had a few bites that I didn't get. But anyhow, as I went up, going up through White Slough and up north, it was tough. Dead low tide, same tide that Nathan and I hit the day before. Just could not get anything going. Took about 2 hours of fishing before the tide started moving, or I could find some decent moving water. At that very moment, the largemouth bass started biting. I was fishing rock and rock with wood on it, and I was fishing areas that didn't have spawning fish on them. I couldn't see any of those fish. I did see fish moving around, but I was fishing hard bottom. So with that, I started fishing worms and drop shot, and I started picking up fish. The bite lasted for about an hour and a half. Another thing, the bite has been very specific, tide related or area related that you are in. So think about that. Joey also said that the great day that they had, it wasn't just start to finish, bang, bang, bang. You're going to find areas, times of the day where you may go for an hour or two without a bite. You may move to another location and all of a sudden those fish are on, or the tide may move, which happened in my situation. Had a good bite for about an hour and a half. Caught those, I'll say 7 to 10 fish, up to about 4 pounds, and then the bite died off. After that, I started throwing crankbaits, moving around. I caught a few more fish. Those were smaller fish in the males that were just aggressive to crankbait. If you're throwing a crankbait or you're throwing a chatterbait, make sure it is a crawdad color. They're really focusing in on crawdad color stuff right now. The bluegill are starting to show up, so within the next couple weeks, as the bluegill get more prevalent as a food source, we're going to see not only crawdad color baits come into play, but things that resemble bluegill. So with that, I hope it gives you an idea of what's going on out here. Hope to have some action videos coming up in the next few weeks, and stay tuned in. Let me know what you're doing out there. Until next week, good luck. We'll see you guys on the river.